On this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast, David celebrates his 46th birthday. We jump in the time machine and go back all the way to 2019. We look at 5 trends shaping the auto industry's approach to Merica 2.0, and we're ready to cancel our 90-day trial of 2020. All that and more on this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast.
Welcome in to episode 046 of the Modern Dealer Podcast. I'm David Bertoncini, your co-host, and today, episode 046 is because I'm introducing because I'm 46 today. But I'm boom, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday!
Let me introduce you to your host, the one and only David Farmer.
Hey, welcome in everybody to the Modern Dealer Podcast. We're very excited to be hosting this episode on David Bertoncini's birthday. So of course we're recording this now on Tuesday. It's going to come out on Thursday, which is your 46th birthday, which corresponds to episode 046. So I have to ask, do you feel like you're getting older? Now, I just recently went through my 50th birthday experience, a little bit different, but how do you feel, David?
Well, I saw a picture of myself 3 years ago, and I could see me aging from 3 years ago. I was like, oh, man, losing more hair. It's just like, But, you know, the good news is this, is physically, maybe in appearance, I'm getting a little edgier. I'm like I was a 1970.
Few more lines, few more gray.
Hey, there's a little Botox can fix everything. But I'll tell you what, man, I physically I feel better at 46 than I did at 26.
Awesome.
Just in a lot better shape. Yeah, man, just a lot better shape. I guess a little more taking care of myself, a whole lot less partying, a whole lot less drinking, and just a little more focused on trying to live to, like you, Mr. Farmer, 112.
112.
That's the goal,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
I'll go for 114.
2082. So that puts us 64 more years, 62 more years, something like that.
That's strong. You're just now hitting your midlife crisis then, right?
Yep, 50. It's crazy. And interestingly enough, I think I feel better now than I did 20 years ago, trying to take better care of myself. I was a smoker for a long time. I smoked from
about to say that because when I met you, you were a smoker and like, hold on a second, got to take a smoke break. And I'm like, can I take one too? I used to just hang out with you guys just so I could just take a break myself.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Not a smoker, but let me take a break. I
did that
outside.
Did that for most of my life. When I was a teenager, I guess in the early 80s, it was still cool to do it, right? You've been rebellious and everything, and it kind of stuck with me for many, many, many years. But it's been 8 years now that I haven't. But anyways, feeling pretty good at 50. Glad to hear that you're feeling good at 46. Now we are coming. So we are mid-May now, right? So a lot of things happening in America right now. We're trying to deal with everything with COVID-19. We're still in quarantine. I have the rest of the team here at the office, but we are doing our social distancing.
Let this be our last episode in social distancing. I plan to be back hopefully to the office next week, so we can get back into the environment, and then the mantra of the show just has a little more energy. Here at home, it's a little bit different. I'm fighting toddlers off, and it's a tough gig.
It's a different experience, right? It's definitely a different experience. To kind of going through how we're making this transition.
It is different. The cool thing is, I would say, we could start a new hashtag. How about hashtag 2020 restart? 2020
restart. I like that.
Yeah, 2020 restart for the automobile industry. It will be hashtag 2020 restart. It's got to be a new beginning for everybody out there, and just kind of look at this as like, okay, the like first like a reboot. We're just going to unplug the first part of 2020, and our subscription, our 90-day free trial to 2020 is officially over. Let's start all over. It's a brand new Happy New Year, right?
And you what I was thinking too is, and actually we should make this the title of episode 046, Merica 2.0.
Merica 2.0, or the there we go. We'll reboot America, unplug and retry. So
Merica 2.0, time to reboot.
Oh man, so time to reboot. But the good news, it feels like we could be getting not I mean, a new normal. It's
A
never
new
going to be back
normal.
to
Yeah.
It's not going to be the old way. But hey, I like the new way. I think the new way is going to make us a little bit sharper, a little more aware of things, and hopefully, there'll be improvements from all this. So from out of every ashes comes the birth of a new beginning.
Yep, absolutely. And that kind of brings us to the main topic. So way back in 2019, August 2019, we did a episode 006 of the Modern Dealer podcast, and we featured Google Marketing Live.
Mm-hmm.
That sound about right? August?
Yeah. Well, it was August.
Yep.
It was August.
Yep.
I didn't
August.
realize it was 006.
Yeah, 006. Hard to believe. Is it that long
just
ago?
Off that episode.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So on that episode, we discussed the industry that was in disruption at that point. And I think if we could go back in time now, we had no fucking clue what was coming down, right? It's like I saw a meme somewhere. It was just a super hilarious. A girl did this little video, and we'll include it in the podcast. But is hey, I'm a time traveler from your future, and I just need to let you know a few things. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's hilarious. I'll share it with you too, and we'll share it with the rest of the Modern Dealer podcast. But yes, that's what we're going to do is we're going to jump in our time machine, and we're going to go back to August of 2019. We're talking about the industry that was in disruption at that point, and the disruption that we were talking about, and they were talking about the Google Marketing Live event, was how ride sharing was changing the way that consumers bought vehicles, that they were relying on shared mobility, ride sharing, ride hailing, Uber, Lyft, other short-term leases as a way to not own your own personal vehicle, because people really seemed like they weren't engaging with automobiles as we had in the past. Electric cars, driverless cars, a lot of things to deal with back last year, August of 2019. Fast forward to 2020, now we have to add on top of that COVID-19. And now it's disrupting in a little bit different way, but really all of the same things are going to impact the way that consumers are engaged with automobiles. And that's really what I wanted to get in on this episode. Google just recently released a Think Auto piece, 5 trends shaping the auto industry's approach to Merica 2.0, or the new normal. But before we get in that, what are you drinking today, David? You get a little coffee?
Oh, you ready for this one? A little Coke Zero.
Oh, there you go.
I don't have any coffee, man. I was going to make some hot coffee, but it's 80 degrees out, man. So it's sunny. It's gorgeous. It's 80 degrees and blazing hot. So I passed on the coffee. So I am joined by a co-host. We may accidentally have a toddler co-host here.
Yeah.
She's, toddler life. Nope, she went running. Never mind running and screaming. There you go. That's what happens when it's unpredictable. We do record in just one run. Nothing's edited. So if you get a poopy diaper, that's the shit you get.
Well, it reminds me too, a couple years ago when that one guy from the UK was on TV, and he was doing it via a Zoom meeting, and the kids came running in, the mom came running in, did a Kramer trying to grab the kids, and it's like that's just normal now.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with. I mean, it's just a normal everyday thing dealing with Zoom in 2020. So no big deal. I mean, it really kind of personalizes who we are, right? It kind of changes the dynamic, which is cool.
So I'm on Coke Zero, toddler time, and I'm feeling good, man. At 46 here, and just rocking this out. This is my final days of 45, the last 48 hours. Yeah. But when the episode comes out, I'll be 46, and it'll be all good for this episode 046. And there we go. Now we got toddler life. Say hi. You gonna say hello to everybody? So anyhow, this is our co-host 2.0, Valentina Bertoncini. So she's just woke up from her mid-afternoon nap and ready to rock and roll. But other than that,
let's go ahead and roll into some of these 5 trends shaping the automotive industry. So number one, people are finding comfort in car ownership. So a lot of things have changed. You know, people, the millennial generation, Generation Z, was kind of moving away from the idea of owning their own vehicle and looking at other alternatives to ways to either use public transportation or to use ride sharing technologies like Uber or Lyft.
It's okay.
Is she all right?
Just knocked over my
Oh,
2 pound
okay, gotcha.
bottle.
Gotcha. So what's happening now? We're finding that this trend is reversing, going back to the comfort of owning your own vehicle and having your own space. There was a study that said that public transportation since the pandemic has dropped by over half, right?
Yeah. So there's like a free bus service, like a trolley service that rides right behind where I live at as part of the route. So when I walk my dog, I can see the hybrid bus. It's a electric bus.
Yep.
It stops and to pick up passengers. That thing for the last 2 months has basically been empty. I think I've seen one person riding.
Wow.
And it's a free trolley. I mean, it loops the entire downtown. I mean, it goes like a 6-mile loop. So, I mean, that thing, and usually it's never full, but I mean, really, I've seen one person on there in the last 6 months, last 2 months. It's nuts. And you just I could see there's like another bus stop because I live downtown. There's a bus stop that you actually pay for, and it has, there's nobody, it's got the social distancing. It says this bus only carries 10 passengers when it used to carry 40 passengers or 50 passengers.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't know how those industries will be able to sustain. I mean, because obviously they need X amount of passengers. They've got their formulas of okay, well, we have this many passengers for this amount of time. It's part of their business plan. So how's that? That's a whole nother.
Yeah, it's going to make a major shift, right? Another part of this study, 93% of people are now using their personal vehicle more often than they had in the past. So not relying on public transportation and not relying on Uber, and really finding a lot of comfort in having their own space. Cars.com survey reported that 20% of respondents who didn't own their own vehicle are now considering purchasing their own vehicle. So we are seeing that shift.
Well, a lot of people got extremely comfortable with Uber. Just like, well, why buy a car? I mean, I got Uber. When I go out of town, I don't rent cars anymore. I was Uber, but now you're like, do I get in and out of 10 different vehicles, or just rent one and lice all the shit out of it? And that's going to be the vehicle I'm going to drive for the next, 5 to 10 days or wherever I'm at, into a different part of the country. But it's definitely affected a lot of things. And you hear about not just automobiles, but these flights that are going cross country with one passenger. Some flights that have there was a couple days that there was more airline employees, more air crew than there was passengers for an entire airline for several days in a row. Wow,
this shift is definitely going to make some changes, not that we're dealing with right now, but also when we get on the other side of this, I think a lot of these changes are going to stick. And that's really one of the things that this article was featuring and really trying to get dealers to think about is, make sure that you're making changes for today, but be ready to make changes for tomorrow. The changes that we're making for today isn't necessarily going to be the same, but they might be. So you need to shorten the timelines of making some process changes.
Well, you think about, like it said, there's 20% more people that are going to be in the market for a vehicle, and your dealership should be possibly figuring out avenues of how to advertise to those people. It's like, hey, thinking about getting your first car, is it time to get a vehicle, no longer relying on rideshare services or public transportation? Come check out ABC Toyota. That's obviously a campaign that somebody can run, especially you're in an area that's relied on public transportation. If you're outside of a major metro, like a New York or a Philly, Miami's always, there's not much public transportation, but someplace that relies on major subway transportation and people have been relying on taxis, might be time to get your own vehicle.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
There should be an uptick in the market.
Yep. And as people are entering the market, they are looking for good deals. So another thing that was referenced in this article, that the search interest for, is it a good time to buy a car, grew more than 9 times post pandemic. So people are looking now and searching to find good deals, and they're finding them. Search volume for best deals, cars and trucks has grown over 70% globally since the pandemic. Manufacturers, OEM finance companies are responding with no interest financing, extra cash deals. Some manufacturers and some dealerships, savvy dealerships, are looking at ways to appeal to customers that may have concerns, such as, what happens if I buy a car and I lose my job? Hyundai Assurance for assurance. They have a program that covers payments for up to 6 months if a buyer loses their job. And this is kind of something interesting. I don't know. So again, we said this 1,000 times on the podcast. We used to sell cars together back in the 90s. Now we're doing a podcast in the 2020s. Another person that used to sell cars back with us in the 90s, if you remember, was Michael Reth. So you remember Michael?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Joe Reth's son, right?
Yeah. No. That's Jonathan. Michael might have been actually before you. He probably was there before you. So anyways, I used to sell cars with Michael Reth, which was Joe's nephew. Okay. Now he owns a large finance product company. And I noticed on LinkedIn the other day that he also has a very similar product to Hyundai Assurance that is available for any dealership to use as a giveaway or as a product to sell, that would allow a customer to have some comfort in covering some payments if they were to lose their job due to COVID-19. This is the same thing that Hyundai Assurance did back post Great Recession. If you lost your job, Hyundai Assurance. So the reason I bring that up is there's a lot of great things from the OEM that's trying to push some incentives that are going to connect with customers and going to pull them into the market. I'm seeing from a lot of our dealers that business is booming. We've had a lot of dealerships that haven't missed a beat, haven't skipped a beat. They're doing good. They're doing well. They're selling cars. There's been a lot of reporting from some of these states that are now reopening, that they're seeing increases in store traffic. I think Penske said that they've seen a daily increases over the last 10 days of store traffic and store sales. So definitely seeing business bouncing back in this mid-coronavirus or COVID-19 epidemic that we're dealing with right now.
A lot of traffic coming back. So that's, I'm hearing that's same word I hear on the streets here too, man. So it looks promising. Looks like, we'll have Merica 2.0. We'll have a hashtag 2020 restart. My 90-day free trial on 2020 is officially over. So I'd like to cancel.
Get this thing rebooted.
Some of the hilarious memes that are out there about restarting 2020 is we discovered earlier today. That was a cool thing to find, but it's gonna be
the memes, the post coronavirus memes have been out of control. I mean, there's just some funny shit, whether it's rebooting 2020 or the murder hornets or the Tiger King memes. I mean, it's just been out of control funny stuff. So some of the things that customers are looking for, according to this research article, that people want the dealer experience closer to home. Auto shoppers ranked the following activities by preference as good alternatives to a dealer visit. So as we were talking about with public transportation, less people are out and about. The less people are using public transportation, less people are entering retail establishments. I mean, even where states have loosened the restrictions, the shelter at home or shelter in place restrictions, like the state of Georgia, I think a couple days ago, they pretty much lifted everything, meaning that there's no restrictions on any type of commerce. And don't quote me on that, but I believe that is the case. But one thing is for certain is people are still staying at home. People don't want to go out right now in these uncertain times. Whether it's open or not open, people aren't going out as much. They're staying closer to home. So auto shoppers rank the following activities as preferences, as good alternatives to that dealer visit. So these are 6 different things that dealers can standardize or operationalize into their sales process. Number 1, an at-home test drive. Very easy to be able to do this. I mean, there's no magic, there's no technology that you have to be able to do. You just advertise that you have it, that you train your salespeople on how to do it. At-home test drives. I would recommend that you have some sort of, cleaning process to be able to explain and build value in that at-home test drive process. Number 2 is review videos. So, I mean, a lot of these things are things that we've covered in 46 episodes of the Modern Dealer podcast. We've talked about the ability to create review videos at the dealership or salesperson level to be able to engage with consumers digitally. And now it's even more important than it ever has been before to be able to create that content yourself. So number 2, as a good replacement or an alternative, is good review videos. So that's definitely something we would definitely highly recommend that you do. And create some sort of digital showroom, right? Number 3, digital showrooms. That's kind of like the whole Cadillac Live experience. We talked about this just a couple weeks ago, is if you can take your showroom right now, fill it with your core products, get them ready to be shown to consumers via a Zoom call, FaceTime, or any type of any type of visual communication, and be able to do a walk around and a presentation right in the showroom, right?
Yeah, digital showroom. That's one of my favorite ones. Number 5, the virtual reality test drive with a customer. I mean, as a salesperson, you can do this through maybe doing it through FaceTime, just to take a customer and say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, I'm going to do almost like a video conference, sort of, which would be our next one, but more like, hey, let's just experience the car through FaceTime as much as we can. Let's get as much as we can done over the phone and with technology that we."
You can have a lot of fun with it too. I mean, I know when I was selling cars, when we were selling cars, that we usually have a couple people that we'd work pretty closely with. Usually somebody that's on the other team, right? So if you have somebody coming in on your day off, you're gonna split that deal with them. So I would recommend you take that person or find another person that you can buddy up with and figure out how to be able to do a virtual test drive. So of course you don't want to be driving a vehicle and trying to FaceTime at the same time. But if you got your buddy with
Is that illegal?
yeah, I would have to imagine it's probably illegal. But having somebody else with you, or you can be in the passenger side, have somebody else drive it, but talk about and do a virtual test drive. How cool would that be? And I can't think of many better ways to be able to really have that personal connection with somebody by doing something out of the box, like a VR test drive.
So here's a little out of the box idea, almost on that same premise of having another salesperson basically video you as you're doing a test drive, describing the vehicle, going over the features and benefits, asking the customer, what feature can I show you? Let me show you this, this, and that. Something that'd be cool is, like, if you don't have a customer to pitch it to, just make your own like review videos, like a daily fun review video of a you could come up with an idea of like almost a family in a vehicle, and just have your partner salesperson act out the other parent or spouse or something like that, and you guys can get in a little arguments and just point out the features of the car. Like, I like this feature. It's got dual climate controls, and they could be arguing over the climate controls, and make it fun and kind of funny. Just have some personality. Put some personality into your dealership, because I look at so many Facebook, accounts for dealers, and it's so awful. We allow these third party
Yeah.
marketers are like, here, we'll hire you for $3,000 a month and do our Facebook for us. I'm like, why? You would
They're
have been better
so
off hiring your
afraid to really
niece.
be themselves and to show off
It's
some
horrible.
personality. And we proved with one of our joint clients the other the week before, that having some personality, having some fun in what you're posting, you're going to get a ton of engagement. And you get a ton of engagement, you get a lot of communication, you get a lot of activity, you end up selling some
Sell a
cars,
lot of
right?
cars. Yeah, you're going to sell a shit ton of cars. Possibly 330 of them to be exact. I mean,
Exactly.
that's some tall numbers. I mean, like you said earlier, there's some dealers that are experiencing some record months. I mentioned last week's episode, our buddy Kevin Ector up there in that CDJR store,
Yep.
they were one car away from their all-time store record.
That's
in the
awesome.
history. The store's been open since the 70s. So, I mean, that's some pretty strong, impressive numbers. But no, getting back to using, technologies and making experience closer to home, make it more fun. Like I said, do some pre-recorded videos like that and send them out to, post them to the dealer's Facebook, post them to your own Facebook, share them with as many people as you can share them with. So I think that's an awesome way to do some stuff there. That brings me up to some later ideas.
Yep. No, absolutely. I'm 100%. I'm right there with you. So we're making our way through the 5 auto trends. Number 4, people want online car buying and at-home delivery. Number 1, a very small number have. This is really a good point. So a very small number of dealerships really have the online capabilities to execute a full vehicle sale online. I was actually talking to a finance director of a good size Honda store just yesterday, and he's got 3, 4, 5 pieces of technology that he needs to work through to be able to do a delivery, and none of them really talk to each other. There's not like one process that a dealership is able to engage with this idea of, somebody presses a buy it now button and then you facilitate everything online. You just deliver the car. And as I was talking to him, I think that there's a disconnect between what consumers want from a online buying experience and what technology providers are providing today. In most cases, I think most technology providers are trying to figure out how can they create this buy it now button and allow a customer just kind of sequentially go through each piece of the process so they don't have to talk to somebody at the store, and they can just complete the process like a vending machine or like Amazon, buying a product and just have it show up in the dealership showroom or in the customer's driveway. So I don't think that's the right way to go. I think the right way to go is try to provide the best possible experience for the customer to allow that customer to go through all of the steps at their pace in a very rich customer experience, and maybe make it a little bit harder on the F&I manager and the salesperson to actually get involved with that customer and talk to the customer, whether that's using Zoom like we're doing right now, or FaceTime, or telephone, or email, but create that personal connection. So make a very rich online shopping experience, and don't worry so much about the transaction. I mean, the transaction will work as the transaction works. If you can do electronic signing of documents, great. If you can't, who gives a shit? It's like Carvana,
Right.
the biggest online retailer, and CarMax, the same thing. They print off the documents, they put it in a folder, they leave it on the seat, and that's how they deliver a car. I mean, there's still paperwork involved. I wouldn't get so hung up on trying to do everything digitally or electronics and sell 4 cars. I would try to figure out the best online experience for a customer and the best profitable volume standpoint for a dealer, so you can sell 40 cars online instead of worrying about the 4 cars. I mean, it's just like, don't worry about the pennies where you got dollars flying across your head, right? Reach for the dollars. Provide the best online experience for the customer and sell cars at the dealership. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Oh, look at that. We're 29 seconds. We're 29 minutes in, so we only have time to get this thing wrapped up. So
Okay, wrap it up.
I'll let you wrap it up this time.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll basically, if this is your first time here to the Modern Dealer Podcast, before we wrap up, be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, turn on notifications.
Ding.
So you are aware every time a new episode drops. And of course, if you're listening to us on any of the other platforms, we thank you for joining us for the Modern Dealer Podcast. For David.
And David.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Oh, whoa. Who are you?
I'm Julie from 4 Months in the Future.
Actually? Are you here to tell me what's going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, because of the butterfly effect, I can only really give you some loose details, but we'll go through the basics. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, do you want the good news or the bad news?
Oh, good news?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Great choice. Yeah, cool. So, things have never been better for climate change.
No, that's great.
Dolphins in the Venice canals.
Really?
I know. Well, I mean, I saw it on Facebook. I don't know if it's a real thing. My aunt posted it, but it was pretty legit.
Okay, well that's incredible. You know, especially given the Australian wildfires.
The what? Oh yeah.
Because I mean, those are pretty. Like, I think those are going to be the defining feature of 2020.
Yeah, you'd think.
Oh no?
Not even a little bit.
Really? Wait, because they're a pretty big deal.
Yeah, your definition of a pretty big deal is going to change for sure.
Wow. Okay, so what is the bad news then?
You are going to want to pull all your investments.
What?
Yeah, get everything out of the stock market. Get it all out.
Oh, it's a recession.
You know what? Put a little money in Zoom.
Is that a conferencing app?
Yes, trust me.
Okay. While we're being proactive here, actually, if you could just do a Costco run real quick, it's gonna save you a lot of hassle. Costco.
Do you have any hobbies?
You know, just something to keep you busy. No, not really.
You should get a dog.
I want a dog. You know, I want a dog. They're a lot of work, and you've got to walk. You got to go outside with them twice a day.
Right. The walks are going to be clutch.
Right, but I mean, I have to leave them because I have so much travel coming up.
Oh, no, you don't.